Tom Lange, the stories that are attached to his career are unbelievable. As you were chasing John Holmes, the porn star, through, I believe it was Coral Gables, Florida, on the Wonderland case, were you thinking of converting him to Catholicism? Was there any hope? Could you?
That really never came up. I don't know where there was.
But that's a true story. How did that happen? Where you're working on this case here in LA, one of the most brutal crime cases there are ever, where they said, "Get your galoshes on" as you go in to record the crime scene for the first time ever in LA, and then you're running through Miami trying to catch Holmes. Tell us that story.
Well, a little involved, but he, of course, was a suspect, and we found his palm print on a bed railing above Lange's, one of the victims' skull. It would have been fragmented, actually. And we find out that Holmes was terrified of Ron Lange, who was a psychopath himself, also good for a couple of murders, but now he's a murder victim. So what was he doing in his room? Well, Lange would never have allowed him in his room, yet we got his palm print on the bed railing above the body, as if one would secure themselves here as they're coming down on the skull with a lead pipe. Of course, later on we find out we got the husband-wife privilege. That comes up again. Sharon, his wife, tells us, he came home that morning, he had blood all over him. I drew a bath for him.
Like all over him. He was drenched in blood.
He was drenched in blood. She gives me all of this story, but we can't use it. She's not going to testify against him. So we know damn well he was a suspect. Why would these killers let him live unless he took part in the killings? So there's no question. We had a solid warrant and everything else, but when things got tight, he took off. Well, I was working with a guy who had a thought on this, and that was with Holmes's girlfriend at the time. Her family lived up in Oregon. So let's go talk to the family, where we find out his girlfriend had a brother who didn't like Holmes. One thing led to another, and we wanted to know where John was, and the kid finally rolled over. He said, well, he's down in Florida. So we got a couple of phone numbers that he'd used that they had on their phone bill. One thing led to another, and we figured he's down in Florida, so we went down to Florida, and we found out where he was staying at a motel. He dyed his hair, dyed his beard. He'd grown a longer beard. He'd painted his car, the car that they took off with. Forgot to change the plates, I guess. This motel was under renovation, and he been hired as a part-time worker. So we were going to stake on the hotel. We had Miami PD. We'd tied in with them. I had 8 different people surrounding the motel when he showed up. Had a warrant. So we waited for him. We set up across the street, and it wasn't 2 minutes later, out comes John Holmes from one of the rooms. So I got on the radio and said, we've got him. I'm going to go over and get him. So I went over there, and I got my 2-inch, and I got up next to the door, and he had left this party next to his room. And he laid down in his bed. He was lying there, and he left the door open. The air wasn't working. It was very warm outside, as it gets in Florida. So I just peeked around the corner, and I said, John, put your fucking hands where I can see him. Oh, he said, what took you so long? I knew you. Oh, bullshit.
You said, when you said you brought in your 2-inch, John Holmes says, excuse me.
I got my 2-footer.
So he rolled over, and one thing led to another. And then he's joking around until the following day, when he got a little more solemn.
Wow.
And he knew he was going back. But we felt we'd had a case, and we did.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind that he was part of the group that killed everybody in that house.